Hi, my name's Philip Barantini. I'm an actor-director. I was acting for 20 years and I've recently become a director. I used to follow this cabaret show in Liverpool. A friend of mine was in the cabaret show and it was a family thing anyway. They used to go around all the pubs and stuff in Liverpool. And then they did this show in St George's Hall in Liverpool, in the courthouse there. It was like an operetta called Trial by Jury, Gilbert and Sullivan piece. And they said to me, do you want to be in it as one of the jury members, just as an extra basically? I was like, yeah. Didn't know I had to sing. And I had the best time. And then basically an agency from Liverpool who was setting up came to watch it and came backstage afterwards and handpicked a couple of us, maybe 4 of us I think, to go and have a meeting with them at the agency. And I was just like, yeah, okay, they picked me. I was like, yeah, cool, I'd love to. And prior to that, I'd really been interested in film and TV and the sort of how it worked and stuff like that. Like I went on a tour of Granada Studios when I was a kid in Manchester and absolutely loved it. It was magical. And then after that I signed with them, and then something happened within the agency, and then I ended up going with another agent in Liverpool. And off the back of that, she, Kathy Toner, her name is, she's no longer working, but I still speak to her all the time. She's like my first agent. She got me loads of work. She got me my first job on film. Because it went so fast for me, and I felt so lucky. It was like a crash course in, I was on set doing this BBC film when I was 16, I think. I was just like, I didn't know what I was doing. I had this imposter syndrome, and yeah, it was weird. But I'd never really known anyone that had trained at that stage. I didn't know any actors. I didn't know what to do or the route, and I constantly questioned myself, should I go to drama school or what? But things were sort of moving quite quickly, and things were happening. And on the other side of me was saying, well, it seems to be working, so just go with it. And then I think I got to about 21, 22, and then I decided I'm going to go and hone a technique and just try it, because personally for me, I felt like if I go through life winging it all the time, it's going to, eventually I'm going to go insane. So I went to the Actors Temple in London. They specify in a technique called the Meisner technique. I read the book first. I recommend any actor to read the book. It's not for everyone, the technique. I mean, everybody has their thing, and I wouldn't say that's the only one to pursue, but for me it really worked. It really resonated with me because I'm not a method actor, but I can understand. Meisner technique is all about putting your focus on the other person as opposed to thinking about what you're going to do next. Like most actors get a script and they read it and they go, okay, at this point I'm going to cry, and then at this point I'm going to do this and that and that. It tells you to learn the words but learn it in sort of robot form, whereas there's no emotion there. And then you sort of put your focus on the other person, and by doing that you forget about what you're going to do, and anything that person does will have a natural effect on you. Very first professional job was a film for BBC called Big Cat, and it starred David Morrissey, amazing David Morrissey. Basically I played David Morrissey as a young kid. It was like an amazing experience because going to the Granada Studios and seeing all this, like how it all works and behind the scenes, and then being on set, and I had to wear a wig and I had to contact lenses, I had to look completely different, and it was just like, it was amazing. I love working abroad. I mean, give me the sun any day. But I think what's nice about working abroad is, like, if you go on holiday, you'll tend to lean towards the tourist areas. Whenever you're filming abroad, you've got local crew, you've got the local people, so you're hanging with them people and experience their culture, and you'll get to go to locations which you probably wouldn't necessarily go to. From my experience is, get to know everybody. Everybody's there to do a job. Everybody's got a reason for being on that set, so understand what everybody's there for. As an actor, you're going to be able to work a lot. That's just the way it is. But it doesn't mean that you should sit around and wait for the next job to come in. You should be watching films, go and watch plays. I know things cost money, but there is also things out there that don't cost money. Online, you can get free scripts. Read scripts, just read. Don't just sit around. That's the only advice I give. Don't sit around and wait for it to come to you. You've got to go out there and grab it, because there's so many people. Just be prepared. That's what I would say, is when you're out of work, just keep preparing. Don't stop. It's like, athletes train every day. What's the difference? We're creatives. It's what we do. So continually create, no matter what it is. The way I stay motivated is I watch films, I come up with ideas and writing, more so as a director now. That's what I'm constantly just looking for, the next idea, next thing. And even if you're an actor, get yourself a camera. These things now, phones, they've got the best cameras. You can film yourself doing a piece, write a script. Even actors write scripts, you know. Some actors make the best script writers because they can get that performance out onto a page. I'm going to say Stephen Graham because I don't know what it is. He's just an absolute powerhouse, and he is exactly what, he wouldn't say that he studied Meisner, but he is exactly what Meisner is about. You know, I've seen him work in the way that he works. Vicky Knight is another one who's about to be a breakthrough Brit this year. She's phenomenal. A lot of her body has got scars, and it just shows you that things like that shouldn't deter you or stop you. Sam Rockwell. I mean, I can't even, there's no words. Like, Sam Rockwell is my all-time favourite actor. I'd love to work with him as an actor or a director, you know, but I think he's just phenomenal in everything that he does. And then there's a couple of actresses that I have worked with. An actress called Izuka Hoyle, who's just, yeah, I think she's gonna be big. And another guy called Taz Skyler, who I worked with recently on a feature film that I did. Again, just raw talent. That's another thing for me as well, I think, and it might be a bit controversial here, but I think acting, you can't necessarily teach it. It's either in your bones, you either got it, you are a creative, or you're not creative, and that's not a bad thing. I've always, like I said before, I've always had an interest in behind the scenes and what goes on, and I think subconsciously through the years as I've been working as an actor, I've always been really interested in everybody's job on set, and I've always asked questions to the cinematographer, or you know, anybody, the director, why did you make that choice, what's that lens for, or you know, what does crossing the line mean, or all of these little things, but subconsciously just interested, you know. And then about 5 years ago I sort of thought, I'd love to give that a go, but I'm just an actor. The directors are, you know, how can I be up there? And then I had a couple of things happen to me in my life which sort of opened my eyes a bit and made me realise that life's short. Shane Meadows, just the way he works and the way he works with actors and what he gets out of actors, I think is absolutely mind-blowing. And I know how he works, a lot of it is workshop. Clint Eastwood, you know, just for his storytelling and his sort of rawness, the way he directs. You know, again, another one, Ron Howard, both actors who've turned into directors, and I just feel that they understand actors. Well, Meisner is, you know, something that I try to use in scenes when there's two actors together. It might be just, if they've got to just talk to each other in a scene, I might just get them to look at each other for a really long period of time without saying anything before we call action. They've got to feel each other's presence in that moment. 100% actors need to bring ideas, yeah. I can have ideas about the character that I feel, but it's them, it's their vessel, they're the ones who are portraying this character, so they need to bring ideas. Every character that you play has an element of yourself because it's your physical being that is, you know, on stage or in front of the camera. Here's a little example, like Stephen Graham, and he'll tell you this, he says the first thing that he does before he gets into any character is he perfects the walk of that character, and he likes to put the shoes on of the character. I think it's a collaborative thing between a director and an actor that they have to definitely talk about the character. I like actors to come up with a backstory. You don't have to go way back to the moment they were born and where was the character before they entered this room, where have you come from, small things like that. That happens more than you would think, yeah. You have an idea of something and then you watch the monitor and they do something, you're like, whoa, that was incredible, like, you know, and it's about the feeling, you know, it makes you feel something and you're like, wow, we've got to go with that. But it could go the other way, they could try something and it doesn't work and you're like, okay, let's try something else. In the auditions for the feature film I just did called Villain, which is coming out in March, I was in the audition and I had an idea for a specific character and every single actor did it differently. Everyone just brought something different to it and it was just magical to see that, because you've got something in your head and then they come in, you're like, whoa, that was amazing. It's great to see that though, you know, it's amazing. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Being creative and experiencing that creativity. It all depends on the budget. I mean, everybody works differently, but I do like to rehearse, but not too much. I like to rehearse maybe the week before we start shooting. It's not a case of rehearsing like a theatre play where you have to know the lines and you have to get it all down. It's more of a character building thing and a relationship between characters. They need to sort of have that period to get to know each other. So the rehearsal period for me is sort of like workshops on the day when we're filming, we will rehearse it. And that's not just for the actors to, I don't want the actors to give out a full performance, but it's to get the lines, but also it's for the crew as well. I like to do a show and tell, it's called. So basically we do the scene, everybody stands around and watches it. This department might say, oh, we need to move that light because it's going to be in shot over there or whatever. I like to make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody understands what's going on in the scene. Know your lines. When we were doing the auditions for Villain, the feature film, we did some recalls in London, so we got them down to Spotlight to do the recalls. And the same people that came in and knew the lines in the self-tapes didn't know the lines. They had the script in front of them and they didn't know the words, and I'm like, how does that work? If you're going to come in and meet the director and the producers and you're that one step closer to the job, you need to be prepared for it. It starts with a script you get, and it's that feeling, you start to get excited by it and start to visualize how you would shoot it. But I also write as well. I like to develop characters, and I've just written something with a friend of mine, James Cummings, who's a fantastic writer. He lives down south, I live in Manchester. So we found that on Final Draft you can collaborate on it, so we can both see what we're looking at the same screen basically. So as he's writing, I can see the words being written, and we also Skyped each other, so it was like we were in the same room. A lot of production companies don't accept unsolicited scripts. But I understand why, is because they would just be bombarded with thousands of scripts a day. What I would suggest is, don't start with a feature film, right? Write some short stuff and then get it made yourself. If you go to like a rental company, you'll be surprised what you can get for free. If you just say, I'm a first-time filmmaker. At the end of the day, shorts take 3 days maybe to film. Over a weekend as well. A lot of these rental companies, they don't rent out over the weekend. So if you go in on Friday, you can rent kit until Monday. But if you're paying anything, you're only really paying for Friday. But as long as you've got insurance, that's the main thing. I think my first proper memory of film would be watching The Godfather with my granddad every Saturday. A couple of bits in the film where it gets a bit raunchy. He used to go, right, he'd pause it on his VHS, right, everyone out the room, fast forward it, come back, okay, come in now, and we'd all go back in and we sit. So for years I never saw the sex scenes in Godfather. You can find me on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, just look at Barantini. At the moment, the projects are, well, the first two short films that I do are doing festivals at the moment. The first one we're going to release, I think, by the end of this year, or maybe beginning of next year, just online, because it's a story about mental health. If we can sort of help one person, then we've done our job. And then the second one, Boiling Point, which is the Stephen Graham, that is nominated for a BIFTA award at the moment, so I'm going to the awards on the 1st of December, fingers crossed. That will be getting released on all digital platforms, probably in the new year. The feature film that I did recently called Villain, we just signed a deal with a big distribution company, I can't say who yet, but it'll be announced this week, and that will be getting released next year in cinemas, which is mad. I've been Philip Barantini, and you've been watching Ignite Insights.